This is National Geographic Today.
Hello, I'm Tom Foreman.
And I'm Susan Rosegen. Welcome to National Geographic Today.
Mountains of darkness, mountains of silence. Now, Mount Kilimanjaro. A group of blind and deaf climbers tackles Africa's highest peak.
To the left, higher step. Oh, there you go.
I'm Tom Foreman. Come along to Tanzania and prepare to be inspired. Sometimes inspiration comes from the most unexpected places. Consider a group of climbers from New York headed to Africa. They're out to climb one of the world's great mountains. No surprise in that. Plenty of people do that. But from the beginning, their route to the top will be unlike anyone else's. Producer David Felsen has the story.
These hikers are climbing in upstate New York. But they aren't just weekend warriors out for a spin in the woods.
Lost the group again.
I found out in 1991 that I had end-stage glaucoma, and it wasn't long after to where I lost the rest of my sight.
I'm deaf, and I have severe asthma and severe food allergies.
I'm sort of the token amputee, cancer survivor, all in one.
6. These climbers are part of a group of 6 disabled athletes from the Achilles Track Club in New York City. 4 are blind, 1 is deaf, and another is a single-arm amputee. They all share the same lofty goal: to climb Africa's highest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro.
My first question practically from everybody was, why would a blind person want to climb Kilimanjaro?
Expedition leader Adrienne Cooney is one of 19 volunteer guides who will help the blind athletes. She also coordinates special events and projects for the Achilles Track Club, an international organization that encourages the disabled community to run with the able-bodied in events like the New York Marathon.
A lot of the times, the able-bodied population has certain perceptions of people with disabilities that are very inaccurate, and they don't see until they hear about it and they meet blind people that there is a whole different spectrum of ways to experience something like Kilimanjaro.
Blind athlete Eddie Montanez lost his sight at age 14. To those who have their doubts about the wisdom of blind people climbing mountains, the Puerto Rican native has a ready response.
My disability has nothing to do with climbing Kilimanjaro. I want to do it because Eddie wants to do it. I just happen to be blind.
Climbing in Tanzania just 2 degrees south of the equator to 19,344 feet on Africa's highest peak is an inherently dangerous undertaking.
If you go up too fast, you get altitude sickness. 75% of people that go above 10,000 feet get a mild form of it.
Team Dr. Jerry Osmond explains some of the perils of high-altitude climbing.
Headache, dizziness, fatigue, shortness of breath, a loss of appetite, nausea, disturbed sleep patterns.
Today's workout is going to be pretty tough. We're going to go non-stop.
Trainer Fabian St. Rose of the New York Sports Club climbed Kilimanjaro this year. Since April, he's volunteered to get the Achilles athletes ready for the rigors of high-altitude climbing.
The last day, getting to the top is sheer mind over matter willpower that you really want to make it there. Are we ready? Are we psyched? Yeah. Are we making it to the top? Yeah. All right.
St. Rose's training is geared toward climbing, but to get a sense of how the blind athletes and their guides would work together on Kilimanjaro, the Achilles team tries a series of training hikes in the New York area.
Yeah, I may as well leave some skin up here.
Each blind climber has been assigned 2 guides for the climb. To pick their way through rugged terrain like this, the athletes hold on to a lead rope or a backpack and feel their way along the trail, putting a tremendous amount of faith in their guides' directions.
Put your left foot to the left, higher step. Oh, there you go.
Oddly enough, blind athletes like Julius Wilson seem more comfortable in steeper terrain than on the flats.
Because when you're on a rock face, you really can feel secure within yourself because you're holding onto the rock, so you're feeling the footing and you're feeling the hands movements. Whereas if I'm walking, standing straight up, I'm really totally reliant upon them. If I can put my hands on it, these are the best pupils I got.
Don't look down!
Yvonne Mascara is another blind member of the Achilles team. Watching her skillfully navigate the terrain with volunteer guide Brian Kenny, it's hard to believe she can't see.
Yvonne is just amazing. Like she can climb this like with just pure natural strength. Go left, there you go, and now right. Okay.
Yvonne lost her vision to eye cancer when she was 1 year old, but that didn't keep her from getting a degree in mathematics from Stanford University.
For people who look at people with disabilities and say, oh, they have a disability, what can they do for society? Well, the response to that is not only do we provide encouragement by accomplishing our goal, but at the same time, we're giving inspiration to other children.
A high achiever at every level, Yvonne hopes going to Tanzania and summiting Kilimanjaro will inspire people with disabilities to be more active.
For other athletes who are just sitting around thinking, I could never go for a run, or I could never rock climb, or I can never mountain climb. Well, you know what? Here we are, we're doing it, and you can use us as encouragement and use us as examples.
It keeps everybody moving around the same pace.
This is National Geographic Today.
Hello, I'm Tom Foreman.
And I'm Susan Rosegen. Welcome to National Geographic Today. This week we're following a human struggle in Africa. A group of athletes, each person facing a physical challenge, trying to climb Africa's highest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro.
I have some audio books for the blind children and regular books for the deaf.
Part of the team's mission in Africa is to bring aid to blind and deaf children. Today they are visiting a school in Moshi, Tanzania.
We don't have braille writing papers.
School coordinator Sarah Macharo explains some of the school's needs. The school has nearly 20 students ages 6 to 15, all with different degrees of blindness. There's also a small group of deaf students.
This is Willie Brody Goodluck. This is Monica Faustin.
Resources in this one-room schoolhouse are limited, and since the power was turned off after government cutbacks, the children's meals are prepared over a fire.
And we have braille paper here that you
The
can use.
athletes have brought critical supplies. With a week to enjoy Tanzania before starting the ascent of Kilimanjaro, the climbers visit the Ngorongoro crater and Tarangire National Park for a first-hand experience of Africa's wildlife.
Why take blind people to a safari? Sometimes you get asked, why go and do something because you're blind? And I think you have to really look at it like, I could see things in my mind's eye and experience things through hearing, smells, sounds. I heard it.
That's so cool. It is the sound that tells Yvonne Mosquera that she's in a special place.
Oh, did you hear it breathe?
Tomorrow you'll see the climbers and their guides begin the journey up Kilimanjaro. Will they all make it? It's a 6-day trek, very tough, so tune in to see what challenges lie ahead. And you know that group has members worldwide.
And we're focusing on a New York group here, but the Achilles Club has membership in 63 different countries, about 10,000 members, been around for a couple of decades, and there's a lot of support among many mainstream athletes for that group.
We're mountain climbing in Africa tonight. Imagine in the next 10 to 20 years, the ice cap on Africa's Mount Kilimanjaro could completely disappear. That's the warning from the environmental group Greenpeace. Kilimanjaro is one of the few places on the equator where ice and snow can be found. But in the last decade or so, 1/3 of its ice field has disappeared.
At more than 19,000 feet, Mount Kilimanjaro is Africa's highest peak. Climbing the dormant volcano is a serious physical challenge for the able-bodied. For the 6 disabled athletes, it is much harder. It will take 6 days to reach the summit, and on the first day, as they move from rainforest to high heather, blind athletes like Eddie Montanez negotiate the trail a step at a time.
Okay, mind the rocks, okay? Step up.
The guide, I'm just following. He's gonna have to tell me verbally if there's a rock, if I have to step up or down. Then I put my hand on his backpack or on his arm, and I follow his body movements after he does them. So it's a matter of trust.
The rough terrain poses obvious challenges, but 56-year-old Artie Elephant is having pronounced troubles.
Just step down one step.
Artie was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa in 1992, and in the months leading up to this trip, his vision has decreased dramatically.
It's difficult some days, and it's better other days. I try, I guess that's why I'm here, is because I'm trying not to let it stop me in whatever I want to do.
Is this really an elephant's head?
That's, I guess, the way I get through it, is by still doing the things that I always would have done.
Despite his struggles, after 4 hours, Artie arrives at Camp 1, 8,500 feet above sea level.
The stumbling and not knowing where to put my feet is just taking its, making me a little tired. It's just a little, it's a little tough.
Sunrise of the second day. Today, the Achilles athletes will climb more than 7 hours to Camp 2. It will be the longest hike of the expedition aside from the summit day.
It's no rest for the weary.
It actually reminds me of like one of those rubber band balls.
Look up. I'm concentrating for you.
It's late morning, and Artie once again is struggling to keep up. By lunchtime, he is exhausted, and he barely drags into the rest area.
Artie, you did it. You did it.
I don't know how much farther.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's not think about that. Let's just eat, okay?
Longtime friend and guide Art Marquardt believes Artie's problems stem from his inability to give up on his failing sight and trust his other senses.
You okay? Well, he's having a very difficult time. It's the rocks and stuff he's having. He's not really committed to either being blind or not blind, and he's having much more difficulty than the actual blind athletes who's using probably twice the energy.
As the other climbers head out,
All ready to go.
Artie tries to rest. He will be the last to leave lunch.
It looks like the mountain has been blown apart and it's really jagged.
For the rest of the team, it's going much better. With help from the guides, the athletes are taking in the sights. Eddie Montanez is progressing in fine form.
1, 2, 3.
But at sundown, as the whole Achilles team gathers for dinner, Artie Elephant and his guides are still somewhere out in the dark, struggling.
Artie's somewhere out there, but luckily the parky sent out 3 porters with hot soup for all of them and torches to make it a little easier for them. So apparently they're slow going, but they're on their way.
Finally, more than an hour after sunset, some lights are spotted. Artie has made it.